So, today I got to see the Odyssey in IMAX, and I've got a few things I want to talk about with this viewing of the film. This is now the fourth time I've seen this film within the span of this week, within a week, in three different formats. I've seen it twice in standard view, digital projection view cinema in Hartlepool, and I have seen it once on a 35mm film projection in Tyneside Cinema, and now today I have seen it in IMAX in the Odeon Cinema in the Metro Centre. This isn't going to be a review for the Odyssey. I already did a review. Joe and I talked about the film for about an hour. So if you are interested in my thoughts on the film, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can see my review on the Odyssey. But before I get into talking about this film in IMAX a bit more, I just want to give a shout out to the Odeon in the Metro Centre. It's been a while since I've been to the Metro Centre, and in theory it's been a while since I've been to the Odeon in the Metro Centre. The last time I went to that specific cinema was in 2019 to see the 40th anniversary version of Apocalypse Now, the final cut in IMAX. I use quotes because obviously it's not a film that was shot for IMAX, but they just put it on an IMAX screen, and it was cool, but obviously it's not shot for IMAX. The last time I saw an IMAX film was actually Oppenheimer. I believe, was it Silverlink? It was in an IMAX screen in Silverlink. But I want to give a shout out to the Odeon Metro Centre because it's as I said, it's been a while, but it's made me feel today. I felt like such a very fulfilled customer, audience member. Going to see a film in the cinema. I am not being sponsored by the Odeon at the Metro Centre. I just want to share my love for this specific cinema. I went to get some popcorn because it was an 11:30 a.m. screening of this film, so it's going through lunch time, and it's a 3-hour film, so I will be hungry. So I said, I'm going to need some popcorn. So I went to get some popcorn. I thought, I'll get a large salted popcorn because I like salted popcorn. And first of all, I had the option to add butter, which is if you're a UK cinema go, you know that's odd because we don't get butter on popcorn here in the UK. I said no because I was getting salted popcorn, but I'm tempted to try get some sweet popcorn and get some butter. And along with a large popcorn and a large Coca-Cola, it was a lot cheaper than I expected for cinema prices. And I certainly got my money's worth for it. And also, heading into the screening, we got our tickets checked. I went with Gary, by the way. Shout out to Gary. And we got a poster. We got, and it's not a huge size. We got a free IMAX poster from the Odyssey. So that was great. And just in general, it was just, just great vibes, great seats. Great screening. We were like in the third row, a good row, I think, for this specific one. So just shout out to the Odeon Metro Centre. I've always enjoyed it, but it's been a very long time since I've went out of my way to go to the Metro Centre to watch a film. But today it's definitely made me consider keeping the Odeon Metro Centre in my cinema rotation. Keep an eye out what's going on there, what big films are coming out, and IMAX goings. So anyway, the Odyssey. It's I love this film. It's amazing. What I was slightly cautious about the IMAX experience because not that I've been disappointed, but like. In the past, like Oppenheimer, I went to see in IMAX, and I wasn't like blown away by it. Granted, I don't go to see real IMAX, I guess. I don't know. I've only ever seen IMAX within the northeast area. I've not ventured out to Manchester or even London, for that matter, to go and see a film of one of whether it be like a BFI screening or something else like that with like the only IMAX screens in the UK. But these are like the closest to IMAX. But Oppenheimer, I wasn't necessarily blown away by seeing it there, so I was curious about how I would feel about the Odyssey, and I'm very happy to say that I was that I thoroughly loved seeing this film in IMAX. I think that like what's so great about like Nolan and the use of and I think like the pull to see the Odyssey in IMAX is that it's the first ever film to be shot entirely in IMAX. So you're not flipping through aspect ratios. You know for a fact that it's going to be full frame and it's going to be consistent. It's not just going to be action scenes. It's going to be the full thing is an IMAX. So it's immersive right off the bat in that way. The detail is insane. In comparison to previous formats that I've seen this screened under, it's amazing. And I think like the main thing that like sprung to me, and obviously like, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, it's a massive screen, it's tall, it's wide. I'm close but not ridiculously close to the screen, so I'm expected to be enveloped with the image of it all. And what I was like expecting was to be blown away by the wide shots and the mass landscape stuff that is shown in this film. And all that is great. And all that is like, gorgeous. There's a lot of wide shots of like a ship on the ocean or whatever. But the stuff that really excelled in IMAX that I realized was all the close-up stuff. Was all the very intimate close-up like dialogue stuff, whether it be like shot reverse shot of like Matt Damon in a scene with Anne Hathaway, or whether it be just a big, beautiful close-up on Robert Pattinson. This specific way of experiencing the film, you could see all the detail in their faces and all the emotion. And that, to me, really added to the Odyssey experience. Having now watched this film 4 times, the story, I know it. I know the beats of the film. I'm still never bored by it. It still feels like an absolute epic time. And this one in particular, this was the first time I left a screening from the Odyssey and I felt like I went through something. Like, whether it be emotionally or physically, I felt like, I didn't just passively watch a film. I felt like I viewed an experience, to hopefully not sound too pretentious in the way that I'm saying that, but I really did. It really was an investing time at watching a film in the cinema, to the point of like it ended, and I was like, and then I felt like, okay, now I'm back in my seat. Like, I was aware that I'm like in a cinema that was packed. By the way, it was, I think like close to 200 people were in the cinema. I know the numbers because I heard an usher talk about it. I think 170 was the exact number of customers that viewed the Odyssey in IMAX today, 11:30 a.m. But yeah, I was aware that that was the case, but like I was so like involved in the film that by the time the credits hit, I felt like myself come back into my seat. And then this was the first time that I took a bit to get up. And like, not like I immediately wanted out of the door, but like the last few times, like the film's ended, I'm like, okay, great, nice one. Now let me get ready and to head off. But this time the film ended, credits hit, Travis Scott is playing. And I'm like, I want to sit with that for a bit. Like, that was genuinely like quite a defining cinema viewing experience. And And the sound design is great. I mean, the sound, I felt it. I felt the rumble in the back of my legs. It's one of those ones. One thing image-wise I want to point out with this, I don't know if it was just my screenings, but this was the first. I noticed with this, with this IMAX format, from what I saw, like the projection felt lighter. Like the film didn't feel as like visually dark. Like the shadows weren't as intense, which was interesting. And I felt like sometimes it lent with a positive. Like I enjoyed seeing like within like I think like when we were like in like the cave with the Cyclops, obviously it's quite a shadowy environment, but I feel like once we do see the Cyclops and we're a bit more like there's like we're candle like firelit a bit more. I feel like I can see the detail in the Cyclops a lot more, which was really cool, and I appreciated that quite a bit. The bit that like slightly detracted from me, again, it's not a massive detraction, but it's just a thing that I noticed, was when I guess, I don't know, maybe don't watch this if you're so cautious about spoilers, but hey ho. It's the moment where the gates are open into Troy, and I forget the character's name, but it's whoever, it's Benny Safdie, it's his character. Like, obviously, like, we see him stood, and then an army of people rush in, and then we see then Benny Safdie walk out from the darkness again. In this projection on IMAX, the gates open, Benny Safdie's front and center, and I can, for the very first time, I could see the army behind him, and then they rushed in. It's still an epic scene, and it's still phenomenal. But I don't know, I kind of liked not being able to see the army initially. But that's the only noticeable thing for me personally that I clocked with this one. Things that I want to talk about the Odyssey now a little bit more. So that's like the IMAX thing. It's great. I've got another little thing that I want to add, but it was great. It might be the best IMAX experience that I've had. Granted, I haven't seen loads, and I've only ever seen Chris Nolan. like in terms of, no, I haven't actually. The very first IMAX thing I saw an IMAX 3D screening of the first Thor film, which felt like a bit like a mess, if I'm being perfectly honest. But apart from that, I saw The Dark Knight Rises, I've seen Interstellar, I've seen Oppenheimer, and now I've seen The Odyssey. So I've only ever seen, again, apart from the first Thor film, I've only seen a Chris Nolan film in IMAX. I might, I'll see. I'll see if that changes. It would have been cool to see one battle after another in IMAX. That's neither here nor there. But one thing that I want to like talk about with the Odyssey that I didn't talk about in the review, just since I've been thinking about it in the last few days. This might be one of the best written Nolan films. Considering like for a while Chris Nolan he fell victim to loving exposition, like really, really like loving just, we need to sit and we just need to explain stuff. And I think that was in its worst in Tenet, where it just felt so like any piece of dialogue in that film was just a character explaining something and then not doing it very well because I was still confused by the whole thing. And I felt like the dialogue in Interstellar was really like naff. And then in Dunkirk, there may as well not have been any dialogue. Whereas, like, I found, like, in Oppenheimer, he finally found a groove of not just exposition dumping. He allowed a lot of visual storytelling, a lot of things to communicate itself visually. And I feel like with this, obviously, there's a lot of things visually that he does very well. But what I think that he does really well in this one is the use of dialogue. And there's so many lines I'm like, that's really cool, or like, that's a great piece of dialogue. I talked about it in my review with Joe of when Odysseus is saying to Penelope, promise me if I'm not back by the time our son is of age, comes of age, then you'll remarry, promise me. And then she goes, how about you promise me that you come back alive? And he goes, what if I can't? And there's other pieces of dialogue, like when Odysseus does return and he's disguised himself as a beggar, and he says to John Leguizamo that Odysseus is alive, and he goes, is he coming back soon to bring revenge, to bring it all? Whoa, that's just great. And there's other great things, and there's like the moment, again, spoilers, massive spoilers if you still haven't seen the Odyssey, get out of here, when Matt Damon kills Robert Pattinson, and he goes, and now I'll send you back your shame, or some. There's so many great lines, and I think this is the first time in a very long time that Nolan has written great dialogue and memorable moments and great 1-2 punches of characters saying stuff, which I'm so happy about. That he's a great visual director. He's never lost his touch as a big scale director. He just lost his touch, for me personally, of being a compelling screenwriter. And along with this and Oppenheimer, he's definitely put himself back in my good books. But yeah, I want to make a comment as well. I want to talk about something involving IMAX screenings and large format and the different ways to view the Odyssey in the cinema. And there's, quote, outrage about this film, about how people are saying that, I've heard people go, Nolan's made a film that only a very small percentage of people in the world can see. That is anti-art. I've heard that. I've seen that as a comment. I've also seen people saying that he's anti-poor people, because the true way to watch the Odyssey, only people with a lot of money can afford to see. And now the comment that I have to make about this, now I've seen, as I said, I've seen the film in 3 different formats. The widest weirdly being the 35mm. The 35mm projection cut quite a bit off from the top of the bottom, and the screen. Look, fortunate enough, the screen that I saw in the View in Hartlepool, it was a relatively tall screen. It wasn't IMAX tall, but it was still nicely tall, and this one in IMAX was tall. Now, from what I could understand, this IMAX screen that I saw isn't like the IMAX screens. You know, it's not as tall as the truest of true IMAX screens. And it's certainly not 70 millimeter IMAX. It's certainly not that, which I believe is the image that Nolan crafted and created. And the thing that I have to say about this is you're not missing out if you see the film in a more basic aspect ratio. You're not. You're not seeing the whole image, but you're not missing out. I think and what I think Nolan does great, and obviously what him and Hoyte van Hoytema, the cinematographer of this film, they've designed the film to be, yes, the premium way to see this film is on a huge, tall screen in IMAX 70mm, like the biggest image. However, and that's like the way that to see the film. But that's not the only way to see the film. And, you know, the film's designed where, you can still enjoy the film in 16:9 because all the information is still happening within that frame. The point of IMAX and full IMAX isn't to be there's important information happening up top. It's to, envelop you more. It's the whole point of IMAX is it's not because it's there's very important information up top. More often not, the way to frame an IMAX film is to frame the stuff central in the frame, because when you're sitting in an IMAX screen, you don't want to frame stuff to really be at the top of the frame, because the audience members will be cricking their neck too much. You almost want it to be central, and the top is just to continue the frame and to like engulf your vision a bit more. It's to like basically the truest version of the film is to try to like cover your peripheral vision. It's not trying to include very important information off to the side and up to the top and up to the bottom. It's to try to engulf you in the world so much that you're not registering that there's an end of the screen. So to claim that Nolan is anti-art because he makes films for IMAX is such a wild statement, and I think it's bizarre. And I think, yes, the IMAX that I saw is the best version of the Odyssey that I have seen, but I also loved and adored the film on my first viewing in the most basic kind of standard cinema projection. You're not missing out. If you're able to see it in IMAX, do. But if not, it's still a film made for cinema. So no matter what format and what medium you're watching the film in, if you're watching it in the cinema, you're watching it the correct way. And yeah, that's my thoughts on the Odyssey. Again, on my thoughts on viewing it in IMAX. Oh, before I also leave, that's another thing I want to talk about. I'm interested in what seems to be the conversation of who Universal are seemingly going to campaign for acting categories. Obviously, when I first watched it, I didn't necessarily think about like a possibility of acting, but from what it seems like, they are going to campaign Samantha Morton for supporting actress and John Leguizamo for supporting actor. More so Samantha Morton for supporting actress. They're really going to push Samantha Morton, from my understanding. And she's great. She's excellent. I'm all for that. I'm actually really behind John Leguizamo getting some acting nominations, because I thought again, on fourth viewing, he might be the best performance in the film for me. Like, genuinely, he's great. But also on my fourth viewing, I think we can't disregard Anne Hathaway as Lady Penelope, because I think she also might be the best performance in the film. She's got so much range and she's great. I think she does an amazing job being very muted Nolan acting while also giving a powerhouse, kind of performance as well. She's great. She'll probably get I don't know, maybe if they're pushing Samantha Morton in supporting actress, I can't imagine they'll campaign Anne Hathaway as supporting. I can see a world where they'll put her as lead actress, because you can definitely try that, I think. But I also think Robert Pattinson shouldn't be disregarded as well. I think he's excellent in this film, but he might get claimed by Dune 3. Who knows? We'll find out. And also Matt Damon should definitely be considered. He shouldn't be disregarded either, because he is Odysseus in the Odyssey. He's great. Yeah, no, it's exciting. I'm excited. The fact that I love this film. The fact that, because the last few years, when the big film, when the big popular films have been out, it's not that I've hated the films. I just haven't been a part of the hype. I wasn't a part of the substance. I really like the substance. The substance is great, but I wasn't a part of its fan club. Nor was I a part of the Sinners fan club. Again, very good film. I wasn't properly on board with it though. But with Obsession and The Odyssey, I'm kind of these are my two favorite films of the year. And I'm excited that they're getting massive praise and massive support. And yeah, The Odyssey's great. But you didn't need me to tell you that. Have you seen The Odyssey in IMAX? If you have, comment below and let me know what you thought of it all. If you like this video, Make sure to give it a like and share. It helps with channel exposure. Links are also in the description below for not only for my Odyssey review that I did with Joe to see my full thoughts on the film, but also the Crazy Stupid Kino Instagram page, as well as my own personal Instagram page and Letterboxd account. Give us a subscribe to the channel if you want to see more reviews of all kind on here. There are more videos right here, and the subscribe button is also there, so give it a click. And until next time, I shall see you later.